All right, how we doing? I've not been in the shop for a little while. I had other things to do. I was in Arizona, now I'm back, and I got to get this kitchen box done for my buddy Phil. And the box itself is made. It's right here. I'm so pro. Anyhow, this is the insert here. And we've talked about how it's going to work in another video, and you'll see more of it. It's about ready to put some finish on, a little more sanding and tuning. There's a door that flaps down on it, which is right here. It flaps down. It's also a cutting board, and what has slowed me down is I've got to do, I should have had it out, but I got to, no, it's right here. I've got to do a drip rail with the router around the perimeter of this. And to do that, I like to use a 1/2-inch shank bit, bowl bit, 3/4 inch. Now, in the past, I've done this with a lot of different routers, and I've always used the Porter cable, the 690 motors in the regular base or the plunge base. And I have 2 or 3 of those. Unfortunately, I had brought them all to Arizona. So they're at the house in Arizona. And I have a guide that works on those router bases. I put a piece of wood on so I could go around the perimeter. There's a technique for it. I'll remember to put a link to a video I did when I did a drip rail on one of my high-end cutting boards. So look for that in the description. If you don't see it right now, you will see it by the end of the day. Now, I had the 690, and they're all an inch, 1.5 horsepower routers. But I also had this. This is a 2 horsepower Bosch. Now, Porter Cable makes either a 3 1/4. I think it's a 3 1/4 horsepower. It could be 3.5. Pretty certain it's a 3 1/4 horsepower, big old industrial router. I've used them before on movie sets back in the day. I've always wanted one, but they're very expensive, and I don't have a use for it on a regular basis. If you have a router table, that's the right router to use. So back in the 90s, I went to a hardware store that was closing out, and I bought this Bosch router. Which is a 2 horsepower, which was pretty good. But I remember when I bought this, it was also a reconditioned model. And so it never felt great to me. And as I've used it since the 90s, I think it's like 17 years. I did the math earlier. It's just not right anymore, right? It's just not that great. But it was always good, very comfortable. Also, I always meant to get a plunge base for it. The other thing is, I don't have a guide for this. So, I can't really use that anymore. I bought this Makita cordless. You put the 18-volt battery up in here. And this thing is phenomenal, but you can only use a 1/4 inch shank on this. Now, when you're doing something that's pro and you want it to be correct with the less chance of chatter, the bit moving around and whatnot, you always want to stick with a 1/2 inch shank router bit. So I needed a router that I could put a 1/2 inch shank router bit in. Keep in mind too, the other routers that I brought to Arizona are like 30 years old or older. They're getting beat up, man. They're just beat up. Parts are falling off. I kind of keep them running. So I went on eBay a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, last month, and I found, it wasn't eBay, it was Craigslist. And I found, I'm so pro, I found this router. New, in a box, with a plunge base and all the parts, brand new, manuals and everything, 125 bucks. So I snapped it up, right? And there it is. It's got extra screws in here, any wrenches that you need. Wrenches here, it's got a 1/2 inch collet. It currently has a 1/4 inch collet in it, and it has what looks to be about a 3/8 possibly round over. Oh, there we go. I know how this works. I got one right there. This is so new. It looks like it's about a 3/8, because it looks a little bit bigger than a quarter, round over bit with a bearing on it. I mean, this alone is about 40 bucks. So I did great on this. And it's only been used like one time. I couldn't believe it. It was so cool. So I was all excited to use this to do the drip rail in this cutting board. Problem is, did not have a guide for it. You need the guide. So what we're going to do right now is check this out. I went on eBay, brand new in the box, $32 with free shipping. Have not taken it out of the box yet. Let's see if this is all going to work. Let's get some stuff out of my way. I will use it with the plunge base, so we'll just go ahead and put it on here. This is such a nice thing to have. Let's not drop it and crack some plastic. Get this out of the way. I'm so excited about this. I don't think I'll show in this video me using it necessarily. But just let's take a look at this and see how it's going to work. Wow, it's tard proof. There we go. I guess there's no way of opening this other than destroying it. All right. I can see something that I want to do already. Look at this thing. This thing is wild, man. I mean, it's got a fine-tuning adjustment on this thing. Spring-loaded. This is designed so I can feed it through here. I got some people coming in, so we'll pause this for a moment. Okay, and we're back. So it looks to me like this thing is designed, I don't know how you would do that. That can't work. I thought it might be able to feed through here with the bit, but that can't happen. Or could it? Oh yeah, look at that. You could adjust this. Oh, and that's what that screw's for. I see. So this micro adjustment here is to fine-tune away from the fence itself and center your bit through here, which I doubt I'll ever use, but that's really interesting. I don't think you could do that on the fence I had for the 690 motors on those Porter cables. At any rate, I'll be using it this way, where, although that won't work. Yeah, it'll be offset beyond that, and that's pretty good. What I'm looking at is the tipping point, right? So these pieces here are such that if I'm gonna, boy oh boy, huh? All right, so if I'm routing along this edge here, when I get to the corner, I just did. See that little, it wants to tip there? If I'm careful and I just keep putting pressure along this back one, it won't do that. Although, getting to about here is all I need to get to. But you see that? What I prefer is a single piece. Now it looks like what's happening here is that that's adjustable. So it looks like if I loosen these screws here, Not working. I'm a little off today, can you tell? I can't see it, so... Oh, there's star bits, that figures. Okay, let's see if they give you the wrench that you need. I would assume that they do. Let's see what else comes with this thing. What I was going to get at is, this gap is a problem here. This should be a solid piece, but these look like I can adjust them and slide them together so that they touch here. Typically, in the past, when I've had fences for different tools, they don't have these parts, just this, and it L's here. And I've made a piece of hardwood as a runner to slide along things. So I should be able to get those to slide together so that as I come to the edge, it's not going to want to rock away from me. That's very important to know about. Let's see what else this thing comes with. Because really that's what this video is about, is this NOS, right? For those that don't know, NOS stands for New Old Stock. Still new in the box. That's NIB. NOS NIB. New in the box, new old stock. That's what this is, this router guide. Very pleased to have been able to find it with this whole router setup. And the really neat thing is like I don't need to use this one anymore. It's so old and beat up. A lot of spare parts on this router that I can use for that router, the new one, if I need to. And if the motor is actually okay with this, technically then I could put this motor in this plunge base, and I've got two horsepower motors. The big problem with this was this fence was no longer working correctly. Some parts fell out of this mechanism. I can't get it to adjust correctly. But now I've got extra collets, extra handles. I got the extra wrenches. Pretty smart. I'm not up to speed anymore with the latest and the greatest, right? As far as what's out there with routers and everything. So this is proven technology that I'm used to using and working with. All right, so there's dust collection stuff going on here. I don't see what that attaches to, but that's interesting. Okay, this does line up under here. That's fascinating. That's really cool. So I could have this adjusted right. Holy cow, that's really neat. If you can't see what's going on here, I could have this. I want to do this so you can see it there. I could basically have this on here. Okay, that's not going to work in this application. But if I was just doing a bit, like the bit that's in that router right here, like a roundover bit on here, I could have this on here and do a roundover, and I could have this attached to a vacuum and suck all the dust off. That's neat. Looks like there's an adapter for the... let's just put everything on top of what I need to talk about next to make my life more complicated. And there are, here's all the set screws to lock that in place on the base. We got 2 T's and 2 knurled ones. And then this is something else. I guess I'll figure out what that's for. And then this is an adapter. Work on here with a vacuum. So if your vacuum doesn't automatically plug in here, here's an adapter for a you know, you guys, I don't have to explain this to those of you who are tool people. So very cool. Again, $32 plus $125. That's $152. Less, we'll say $40 for the bit. It's $112. I've got all brand new stuff that's going to make my life easier. And I'm very pleased about this. So now today, or in the next couple days, I do have to go home now. I got to call this guy for my VA stuff. I think I should just do that today and get it out of the way. And I don't know how long that's going to take. If it's not too long of a call, I'll come back after lunch today and maybe get this done. And if not, I'll get it done tomorrow. So the idea is I get this router working with this bowl bit again. Just showed it to you, but here it is again. I set this, what I'll do is I'll take my square and I'll draw a line about 1/4 of an inch or so inside. I'll just do it at the corners. And then I'll set the depth on the router for for 3/16 of an inch. And this will be spinning in the router. It'll come down, and when I get to the line, I'll stop just before the line. I'll just explain it to you. So it's spinning. I'm going all the way down. I get just before the line, I stop. I shut off the router. Rotate this. I set it up. I plunge in again, just inside of the line on this side. Move it back a hair. Then I go all the way along here. Again, stop just before the line, turn off the router. And I do that on all 4 sides. Then I use sandpaper and I'll make a little dowel and I'll make sure I get all that perfect and it'll look awesome. From the front side, you'll just see this. Now, I've also decided, and I checked with Phil and he's cool with it, my latch mechanism on this is going to be very simple, super sturdy, easily serviceable. It's just a window hasp. That's all it is. So this part here is going to get attached right up here on the box. This part here is going to get attached right here, and you'll just flip that. Rock solid, will never open on you when it doesn't need to be or when it's not supposed to be, and you can always get new parts for it or get new ones, and it's just simple. I didn't want, I could get super trick with this with magnets and all kinds of things, but those are all just parts that could go wrong, and I don't need to do it. My next system to figure out with this is going to be because this is different from mine now, and I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. But basically, there's hinges along the bottom. This folds open. And I need to have my rope coming down to hold it in place. The problem is, when you fold this up, okay, I see now. What you might have to do with this, because what I want to do is I want to have the rope coming all the way up in here, attached, inside here on each side. Now what I could do is I could drill from the top right here, 2 holes, pull the rope through, this is going to be paracord, and knot it so it doesn't pull through. That might be the easiest, simplest way to go without extra hardware and everything. And then when this door opens, that line is going to come straight down through there on an angle. And then I already described what I want to do here. We'll see how feasible it is as I'm working on it. It's about 1 inch thick. So I'm going to create a slot here with a notch here, just thick enough for the paracord to go through, where I'll put a knot and put that in, and I'll put a clip or something over the edge. You'll still be flush here. You can pull that out with a screw or something. So now it's super easy to service this thing. And when you go to close this, Phil, you'll lift it to here, and then you just take the string, the paracord, and you'll tuck it up on this shelf here as you feed it in. Because if it's hanging in front of here, this won't close all the way. So maybe I can come up with another system for that. This is just what I'm thinking right now, but that's how it's going to work. The KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the idea. So just wanted to talk to you about the box, what's happening. I know Phil's chomping at the bit. It's so funny. I really like Phil. And when we talk, we get along. And I've seen Phil get pissed off at people. like when he's upset, not the greatest, but I'm the same way, you're the same way. When we're upset with somebody or something, we're irked, and you could see that in our personalities. But when he and I talk, even if something was miscommunicated, we talk through it and everything's cool. I really like the guy. And we're pals. And I mean, it took forever to get the bumper out here, and it's taken forever for me to get this to him. And I think we both understand it. We're just busy guys. Life's pulling at us from all these different areas. But now it's the home stretch on this thing. This is pretty much ready to go. And there'll be a few extra little things, which I'll explain as I do it. But hopefully I can find the time. Just to tell you a little bit personal information here about my situation, making money and everything else. I had a very good summer. I did pretty good this summer. And, I made a couple tables, did that big project in the valley. I did a couple small things, some things you guys never saw. But I've spent, and I got my YouTube money. But hey, man, I bought a new laptop, MacBook Pro. I had to dump money into the van. I helped my nephew out with his first and last month's deposit so he could get his own apartment. I owed somebody a couple bucks, substantial. So I've spent all this money. Now I'm back to square one again, where I need to start generating some income. I was hoping to have a block of time. I was thinking about driving up into Canada, possibly Alaska. Now that's all gone. None of that can happen now because I'm out of money again. So that's just how it is. So I spoke with a client this morning on email. This woman I was working for a while. So I'll probably get to her house next week. I got to get over to my friend Kurgi's house, possibly this week, if not in the next week, to do a day over there with something. And in between all that, I'll try to knock this out. But I will have this done pretty soon, hopefully before the end of the month, with finish on it, the extra parts he's going to need to trim out around it, and make a box for it and ship it out to him. And then I know Phil, he'll take pictures of it when he's done. And I'm nervous about it because, you know, Phil, if you don't know, Phil owns a company called Oceanside Painting. This is in Ocean County, New Jersey. If you need painting done, Phil is top notch. A lot of friends are painters. They're all good. Anybody I'm friends with is good at what they do. I can't be friends with somebody that's a hack. Sorry. I'll be nice with you. If we're out somewhere, I'll be cool. But if I don't respect you, or what you do rather, that's a weird thing for me. That's just me. You don't have to be like me. It's probably better if you're not like me. But the guys I'm tight with that are blue collar dudes, they're all good at what they do. And where I come from, you can't survive if you're not good at what you do, because if you're not good at it, there's somebody else right in the same area that is good. It's just the guys that are better at it oftentimes are often the guys who are busy all the time too, so it's kind of hard to get those guys. Phil has a pro company, man. Big old building he's building now, whole new facility. He's into cars. He builds these project cars. But he's the guy, man. If you're cruising through Manilokin and all these areas along the Jersey Shore down there, where you see these giant mansions on the ocean, where it's just, they're beautifully done and painted, pretty good chance Phil painted those houses. So if you're at the Jersey Shore in particular and you need a good house painter, call Phil. If you got a kitchen you need remodeled and you're thinking about painting your old wood cabinets or something, that's a big thing that he does, refurbishing kitchens, call Phil. Again, Oceanside Painting, Ocean County, New Jersey, Phil Fortuna. Look that up. You'll find him. Can't go wrong. He's very, very, very professional. And that's what bothers me about this whole thing. Because he's like, I was like, dude, you know, you could be doing this. He's like, yeah, but you build furniture. And it's true. I can figure this out. And I did. And it's very cool. Right now, I don't even like you looking at it because it's, you know, doesn't have a finish on it or anything. And this is just a box kitchen insert for your van. It doesn't need to be fine furniture. But one of the things that bothers me is when you fill nail holes, you get a little filler in the grain of the wood that you'll see. It's going to bother me. I can maybe color that in with a marker or something. I don't want to go super crazy with it. But I already know Phil. He'll like to goof on me. You know, if you're friends with anybody from Jersey, you know how that is. We're professional. Professional? We are proficient. Let me get this right. We are professional ball busters where I come from. So I know I'm going to get some grief about something. So I'm expecting it. But again, this is pretty cool. I decided to take this down and this down because they don't even need to be this high. This is just for, this is actually pretty perfect. I could take a container like this here, a Taliente container, which I believe is about 3 inches across, 4 inches. This is 3 5/8 of an inch at the lid. Plenty of room for that. Just so you know, the depth in this lower one, it's 4 1/4 inches from the back wall to the inside of this rail. It's obviously the same thing here. That's a good amount of space. I took this down in case I had something taller that you wanted to place in there, you know. I have to adjust this down. Let's just go ahead and see what that looks like. I don't know if I could fit this in here. Oh, look at that. There's a router. My Makita router fits in there. It'll fit this way. No, too big that way. But yeah, so you take something and that's how you would get a taller item in and out of this. You have to turn it to the side and lift it out. put it in this way and stand it up. That's why I took this down, so it was easier. I did the same thing here. This will insert into the door, and the metal part of the door will come up to about this spot here. So for a visual, okay, this is all the space that you're going to have to get things in here. So this is a stuff shelf more so than anything else. You can take something small and stick it in there because you can't, there's nothing higher here, right? So there's going to be a hole here. So let's say you had a jacket or something, you could force it, crush it in here, and it can loft up behind, up into the wall space. Not by much though, maybe less than this, because the way his door is, you only got probably about this much room of steel right there before you have the window to the back door. But he'll have a little bit of high space there. So if something that was fluffy, like a down vest or something, you could cram that in there. It could loft up underneath there. You can grab it and pull it through again. Won't be any problem. But Phil, if you do that, you got to make sure that the steel of the opening of that hole on that back side is not jagged. I don't think it is. But if it is, you want to get in there with a grinder, sandpaper, file, so that if you do have an article of clothing that crept up behind there, you don't want to tear it open. Just a tip, right? Foreshadowing here. But this is the idea. So you've got this, and I had to do something with this because the hole in his door is taller than mine. So I had this weird dead space, and this was just the only idea I could come up with to be able to throw stuff in there. You know, you could reach in here and get it. You know, you could have your phone in here. You know, Phil knows he could, if you wanted to drill a hole through here and run it somewhere else to run a cord or something, he could figure all that out. He did the interior of his van, did a fantastic job. Phil's actually a pretty decent carpenter as well. Can't take anything away from that guy. I'm jealous of him. Good looking guy, killer surfer, man, great family, doing fantastic, you know. These are the kind of people I like having in my life. The kind of people I'm like, all right, these guys, I like people that do better in this world than I do. People not doing as well as I'm doing and doing worse, they're a lot harder to hang out with and be friends with. Especially with your own family, but we won't go there right now. So, that's how this thing is going to work. I think it's kind of cool to have that little space right there. I'm looking around to see if there's anything else I have that I can just toss in there, and I don't. So, because I'm not super pro. I had a guy send me 2 pairs of these scissors. They came in this packaging. I believe this is a Japanese company. And I just figured, yeah, boom, something like that fits right in there. These are these crazy guys from Colorado. I forgot his name, but thank you, man. Found my address, got these off of Amazon. They're a little bit big for me to fit into that kit that you sent for it. So we'll see. Maybe I can try to cram them in there and get that done. But again, stuff like that, stuff that you need to like quickly access where you don't want to open this door. I don't know what. Phil, your surfboard wax, the leash for your surfboard, that sort of thing. Boom, right here in this tray. You open that back door, it's right there all the time. Also, you can line this with like this material here you see on the table, or some cork. You know, you buy that rolled cork. You do the stuff where it's double stick, and then you'll have less noise with things rattling around in here when you're driving. Common sense stuff, man. Phil knows this stuff already. Yeah, I'm preaching to the choir with this guy. This guy's got some of the coolest cars. Yeah, he's got a VW bus where he put a Subaru engine in it, so he can cruise 85 miles an hour in that thing, man. And we ate lunch in it a couple times. It's beautiful. He's got some cool rides. That's all I'm saying. He's got an Astro van. That's kind of how we met. It's kind of funny. We have all the same best pals in Jersey, all surfers. And Phil's a couple years younger than I am. A good solid 9% more handsome than I am. And surfing with this guy he's fun to be in the water with, but you know, good luck catching a wave. He just catches every stinking wave. He'll get a kick out of that. So we had all these same friends, and when I got my van, this all-wheel drive Astro van, one of my trips across the country, I stopped in Prescott, Arizona, and I had those guys. I forget the name of the company, but they do the lift and the 4x4 swap. So I had that done. You should look at that video because it did not go well. Their workmanship on my van wasn't done well. Nice guys, good product, whatever. They were rushing people in and out at the time. I'm sure they're more pro now. They make some pretty good stuff. Journeys off-road. Anyhow, I did that, then I drove across the country. And I got to Jersey, and what I didn't know was Phil was looking for an all-wheel drive Astro van. And what I also didn't know was he saw my van parked all over town, not knowing it was me, not knowing who I am, but he was apparently trying to find me to talk to me about the van. He actually, I think he wanted to buy the van from me. He was on the phone with the Journeys off-road guys because they had a van that they wanted to sell him. I know the van. They gave me that van to drive around. Not a great van. Like the tires were going flat. I had to put money into this thing to keep air in the tires that they gave me to drive around while they were working on my van. It was not a great van. I didn't know any of this. I met my buddy John. He owns Betty and Nick's Bait and Tackle in Seaside Park. And John, one of my good pals. I love this guy. We have a funny history going back. We did some funny things together. Badass dude, super cool guy. And when I'm in town, he would let me like park in his driveway and live in the van. At one point I was there one year for 4 months, living out of the van, parked in his driveway. Extension cord running to it. Into November I was there. And with storms and everything, it was cool. And the van was parked out there. I was in John's little kind of office space, which is really a garage. You walk into the bait and tackle shop, and to the right there's a garage there where he works on reels, and he repairs reels and does other maintenance to fishing gear. And I was in there using his Wi-Fi. I was on my computer, and Phil walks back there and starts talking to me about my Astro van. And that's when we got to know each other. And the thing is, I know him from back in the day, barely, because he would go out with the fellas when he was going through his partying phase like we all had. I was working in the nightclubs at the time. I was already a bartender and a DJ at JJ Rockers and then later at Club XS. JJ Rockers, Seaside's only rock and roll nightclub. I had a good time being a DJ. I started working the door. I was a bouncer, bartender, and then DJ. And so he was out and about in those days. But I didn't really know him well. And there was a hierarchy back then in the old days with the surfers too. And the guys that were as good as him were not talking to me because I was a clown in the water, still am. The only saving grace I have is that I'm friends with all the really good surfers and I take no shit from anybody. So if I'm in the water and somebody's giving me crap, I'll be like, okay, let's go. And people know it. Anyhow, it's not something to be proud of. As I was saying, we started talking, we realized we got all the same best pals. And now I'm home in the summers, going back every year for a few years in a row. We're in the water service. It just was fantastic. And I can't say enough good things about the guy. So, Phil, thank you for being patient. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll get to it. It's almost done now. You can see it. I hope you're excited. Just to let you know what's going on with this construction, because people have asked. 1/4-inch plywood on the backside. This is good quality, like drawer bottom material. And it's like a shop finish on there. So it's a pretty nice material. Then I've got 1/2-inch material for the sides. And then I milled this stuff to be about a half inch, maybe a little less. And this is solid ash here. This right here on this shelf is actually a solid piece of poplar. That is not plywood. This shelf is a piece of 1/2-inch plywood. The bottom shelf is a piece of 3/4-inch plywood, and I did that for a reason, which I'd like to show you. Oh, here we go. I'm going to put these hinges in here, and I wanted there to be enough meat for those screws to bite where they won't just pull through the wood. So I'm doing something a little bit different here. I've done it different ways in the past. And for myself, I don't mind doing something that, to me, being a professional might seem a little half-assed to me. I don't mind doing that with my own work because I know how to make it correct. So if it doesn't work out, it's great. It's an experiment, and I can figure all that stuff out. So I'm going to just drop this here, Pull this down, slide that over. Okay. So those hinges are going to screw down into the 3/4 inch plywood, and these are going to be visible on this side. Now, on the one on my box, I just used a regular hinge so you don't see this strap. But these strap hinges, far more robust, and I trust this better. So that's what you're going to see. They're clearly not spaced correctly right now. But you're going to see those. They're going to be visible. But I'm doing that on purpose because when you fold this thing down, it's just a lot stronger. And I don't want any phone calls like, hey, man, those hinges you put in fell out or broke or whatever. These should be fine. And so, yeah, that folds down. You guys get the gist of it. So this is for you, those of you that have been here. A lot of you have been asking questions about it. Many of you have been asking questions about this for like a year now. I have clients in the past that have waited for me to get to their project for up to 2.5 years because I've just been too busy and they want my quality build. And I'm not talking about this. I'm not knocking this. This is fine for what it is. But I'm talking about when I do a high-end piece of furniture that's, you know. So those people, they realize I'm worth waiting for. And it just takes me a while because I'm usually doing a lot of things at the same time, along with other things. And clearly I'm long-winded. So that's it for now. I hope you guys got a kick out of this. You enjoy it and shared my enthusiasm for the new old stock parts. Now I can get this thing dialed. I'm super happy about this. Oh man, that's so cool. And I want this out of my life. I want this done, and I never want to friggin' see it again other than you, Phil, sending me pictures of it or you using it at the beach or something. That would be very cool. If you share pictures of it on Instagram or anything else, please tag Mike Z Design, hashtag Mike Z Design. For those of you who don't know, I'm Mike Z Design. Considering changing the channel name from @AstroVanTribe to @Mike Z Design to encompass all the different things I've been putting on the channel lately, tell me in the comments what you think about that. Because I'm lazy. It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I get distracted. I got ADD. Could you tell? Maybe I'm not making it obvious, but, you know, a little attention deficit disorder here. Let me do this now. Let me do that. I'm doing it right now in the middle of this video. I'm done. Thank you for being here. Be kind to one another. Come back off to tell your friends. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.